Welcome. So, if you're trying to keep up with artificial intelligence, you know it is just a constant flood of new stuff, right? New breakthroughs, new tools, new debates. It's a lot. And a ton of people, myself included, turn to newsletters to filter out the noise. But that just brings up a whole new question. Which ones are actually worth your time? The biggest challenge we all face is just trying to separate that signal from the noise. I mean, look at this. We're talking about a massive flood of research papers and code hitting us every single day. Newsletters are supposed to be that filter, the thing that turns all that chaos into a clear, curated signal. Honestly, they've gone from being a nice-to-have to a totally critical tool for anyone in this field. So, to cut through all the clutter of those endless best-of lists, we decided to try something a little different. We took a bunch of expert rankings, subscriber data, industry reports, all of it, and we fed it into an AI research assistant to basically synthesize a definitive guide. In other words, we let the AI analyze the analysts. Okay, so let's just start by setting the stage here with the AI information explosion. Because before we can even get to the rankings, I think it's really important to understand the scale of the challenge we're facing. We are in a field where yesterday's groundbreaking discovery is like today's standard practice. And this quote from Matthew Mayo over at Machine Learning Mastery, man, it just captures the feeling perfectly. It's downright overwhelming. That sheer volume is exactly why we need high-quality curation, which is the role that the best newsletters are trying to fill. And that brings us right to our next section, the consensus heavyweights. See, after our AI assistant crunched all the numbers and analyzed all the sources, some really clear patterns started to pop up. A small handful of names just kept appearing at the top of every single list, no matter who was doing the ranking. These are what we're calling the consensus heavyweights. So, the big question is, who are they? When you boil it all down and compare all those different expert guides, which newsletters are the ones that are consistently recommended as essential reading? And here they are. The AI analysis pointed to these 7 newsletters as the consensus choice. You've got daily digests like the Rundown AI, you've got really technical summaries like TLDR AI, and you have human-first analysis like the Neuron. These are the names that the experts all seem to agree on. They are the undisputed heavyweights in the space. Now, what's really interesting here is just how diverse this group is. Each one of them has mastered a very specific niche. The Rundown, for example, gives you this super fast, scannable briefing that's perfect for busy professionals. TLDR AI, on the other hand, it goes deep with dense, technical summaries for engineers who need all the details. The Neuron found its audience by adding a ton of personality and a human-first approach. And Import AI really cornered the market on that deep, rigorous analysis for serious industry watchers. And just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, let's look at some numbers. There's an AI for that, which is a leader in tool discovery, reaches a staggering 2.8 million subscribers. That's absolutely massive. The audience for this kind of information is huge. And that's not some kind of outlier. The Rundown AI, one of our consensus heavyweights, has over 2 million readers itself. So this confirms we're not talking about a niche market here. These newsletters are a primary information channel in the entire tech world. But look, popularity isn't everything, which brings us to our next section, audience profiles. This is where we go beyond the general rankings to help you find the newsletter that's actually right for you, based on what you do and what you're interested in. This quadrant map is probably the best way to think about it. We've mapped the top newsletters onto 4 key audience profiles: researchers and engineers, business leaders, developers and coders, and then people who are just focused on tool discovery. So let's break this down so you can see exactly where you fit. Okay, let's start up here in the top left quadrant. If you're a researcher or an engineer and you absolutely have to stay on the cutting edge of ML research, the sources are crystal clear. AlphaSignal, Import AI, and The Batch from DeepLearning.ai are going to be your go-to reads for that deep technical analysis and the latest academic breakthroughs. Now, moving over to the top right, we've got business leaders. If your focus is more on strategy, industry trends, and that high-level impact, you'll want to look at the Rundown AI for your daily briefings, Notabot for executive-level intelligence, and the Neuron for really engaging analysis that's super easy to digest. All right, now for the bottom left, developers and coders. This group needs practical, hands-on info. And the top recommendations here are TLDR AI for its super concise summaries of new tech, and Machine Learning Mastery, which is just fantastic for its code tutorials and its results-focused guides. And finally, in the bottom right, we have what's probably the fastest growing category, tool discovery. If you're the person who just wants to know about the latest AI tools you can use today, then there's an AI for that, or TAFT, and Superhuman AI are the undisputed champs for finding and learning about new applications. So we know who to read. But for this next section, let's take a quick look at how these best of lists are even made. Our AI analysis actually found 3 pretty distinct ranking philosophies, and I think understanding them adds a whole other layer of clarity. First up, you've got the consensus-based approach. This method is all about editorial quality and industry relevance. It's not just about raw numbers, it's about what other respected experts in the field are reading and recommending. It's really a measure of influence. The second philosophy is purely subscriber-based, and this is all about reach and scale. The logic here is pretty simple. If millions of people are reading it every single day, it must be important. This method is what puts market leaders like TAAFT and The Rundown at the top. And number 3, we have technical utility. This philosophy couldn't care less about subscriber counts. It's all about practitioner value. Does it include GitHub repos? Does it have code tutorials? It measures success by how useful it is for the people who are actually building with AI. Okay, for our final section, we're going to get a little meta. After having our AI research assistant analyze all of this information, we gave it one last job: summarize its own findings in the style of an AI newsletter. So yeah, we fed everything back in, the consensus picks, the audience profiles, all the ranking philosophies, and we asked it to create one final consolidated output. Let's see what it came up with. And here you go. The lead story reinforces our key finding. Yep, there's a clear consensus around 7 heavyweights, but the best newsletter is a totally personal choice. For its tool of the week, it actually highlights the quadrant map itself as the best way to find your perfect fit. And its final thought? Well, it's a nice touch of self-awareness. These AI tools are incredible for synthesis, but they still need that human touch to get the final output just right. And that really brings us to the core takeaway. Whether you need daily speed or deep research or business strategy, the goal is always the same. Like this slide says, in this overwhelming flood of information, the real question is, which signal fits your noise? Finding that answer is the key to staying informed without getting totally overwhelmed. Thanks for watching.